Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new, fresh episode of JD Talks NASCAR. Um, I apologize for the delay in the episode. Had family situation occur last night, and I just wasn't in the right mindset to record. And now here we are, and it's Tuesday night, so I'm sorry. I've had several messages asking what's up with the podcast. When's it coming out? So here we are. I'm here. Going to try to give you my best that I can. I want to start off by saying before we get into it, I actually went back and had to rewatch the Texas race because I was out of town on Sunday. I got to watch like the last two, like stage two and stage three. I got to watch. I was at a press conference for new Kentucky head basketball coach Mark Pope. If I've got any Kentucky basketball fans around that listen to my other podcast. That's where I was. I was covering that, seeing what all was said. But I did go back and watch most of the race. I've got notes. I've got opinions on things. First, before I get into a deep dive, I wanted to say I thought this Texas race was one of the best ones that I've seen at Texas in a long time. Um, I thought it was very interesting to see the drivers on edge. That you know, several drivers, and it seemed like in the same spot in the track, on in turns 3 and 4, there was a bump or bumps there that just upset these next gen cars. The track was slick in general because of the weather, how hot it was out. So it made for a very interesting race. I felt like there was a decent amount of passing. Um, you could argue you want more, but I thought it was a very solid race. I thought it was better than the last two short track races that we've had, Richmond and Martinsville. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Talladega. And I was super speedway with next gens, but just the Xfinity cars there on Saturday as well. I'm excited for. And speaking of Xfinity and truck races, oh my gosh, the trucks are off this upcoming week. But started out my weekend 2 for 2, picking the correct winners once again. One of these weekends, I'm going to go 3 for 3. I'm very confident it won't. I won't go 2 for 2 this weekend with Xfinity and Cup because it's Dega. But my goodness, these last couple weeks I've low key been on a heater. I picked Kyle Busch to win the truck race at Texas, and picked Sam Mayer to win the Xfinity race at Texas. And Sam Mayer won by approximately a millimeter. Between him and Ryan Sieg, I honestly wanted Ryan Sieg to win. I mean, I know my prediction was Sam Mayer, but Ryan Sieg has raced in the Xfinity Series for 12 years now. So many starts, over 300, I think. And, he was in position for his first win. I feel like it's coming. He might get it this weekend at Talladega. What a Cinderella story that would be. He's a pretty good super speedway racer, but at a mile and a half to get up there and nowhere near the equipment his competitors are in was really impressive. And it was very close. I mean, the official margin was like 2.002, I think, or something like that. It was crazy close. I mean, it literally looks like they're almost tied going across the line. So it was the best Xfinity impression of Atlanta in the Cup Series earlier this year. But a solid race overall. The Xfinity car, and we've been down this road before, but I would be perfectly fine if we just moved the Xfinity car to Cup. I mean, it's so awesome. I mean, there's tire wear, they're hard to drive, they just put on great racing no matter what style of track that you go to. So I loved watching that Xfinity race. That was very, very solid. Um, Now to get into the Cup race, step by step here. Um, Ty Gibbs, who qualified second, who I thought could potentially maybe get his first career win at Texas, just really struggled. Opened up with pit issues right from the jump. First stop had issues on pit road. Jimmy Johnson, oh, he had to start in the back because he wrecked in practice. He spins here. Luckily, no damage to the car that I saw on the spin, but man, I hate it for Jimmy. I really do. He's such a legend in this sport. Um, you know, just stinks to see him these last couple times that he's raced. Just been so dreadful. But hopefully, he's got Dover coming up, not this week, but the next, and he's running that race, and that's his best track without a doubt. So hopefully he can have a solid run there at Dover. I'm hoping for. Kyle Larson dominates the first stage from the pole, wins it. I mean, it feels like every stage win this year has been Kyle Larson or Denny Hamlin or William Byron. It feels like. I mean, it's like it's either Hendrick or Gibbs for sure most of the time. But you know, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Denny Hamlin all are their teams are locked in. They're good every single week. So Larson wins the first stage from the pole. And speaking of the pole, 3 straight weeks for Kyle Larson on getting the pole. That's a huge accomplishment. That's crazy, to be honest with you. And they've all been at kind of different tracks too. So very wild. He could potentially get 4. I mean, he qualifies really good at Talladega. He don't run well. He don't finish well. I mean, he runs well, but he don't finish well on super speedways. It seems like, but he can sure qualify. And the Hendrick cars are always fast in qualifying at super speedways. So could he get pole number 4 in a row? That'll be something to look forward to at Talladega. Um, Christopher Bell, man, what a rough couple weeks for him. The bad luck just continues. I mean, he came back to finish decent, but man, the damage to his car, it was crazy how he did come back to finish decent. He self spun off of 3 and 4, same spot that I talked about earlier. Alex Bowman got collected in this. Very unfortunate for him. It's just bad timing, wrong place, wrong time, and ended his day very early. So hated to see that for the 48 team. They've been solid all year as well. I think they'll be a factor at Talladega. I think Hendrick Carr, they're always fast, but can he get it done at a super speedway? We'll see. But I'm still confident in Bowman getting a win this year. I know I said that last year, he never did. A lot of that had to do with his injury. I think they're running well enough this year that I could see him in victory lane before it is all said and done. Then Carson Hocevar and Kyle Busch get together. This was confusing to me because, and I might take hate for this, but it just is the truth. I don't see Kyle Busch as a dirty driver. I know he got a lot of hate in his younger years. He did the one thing with Ron Hornaday in the Truck Series forever ago that was extremely dirty. Got suspended a race, but I think he was just hated then because he won everything. But when I think of Kyle Busch, I don't think of a dirty driver. I think he keeps it clean for the most part. I don't know what this was. I mean, there's no justifying it. I watched his in car. I don't know what he was trying to do. And I'm a Kyle Busch guy. I really like Kyle Busch, but looked like he was pushing Hocevar into the corner. I don't know if he purposely tried to spin him, if he pushed him too hard. I didn't hear comment on this, but no damage for either car. Somehow, Hocevar with a heck of a save. And he goes on to finish top 10, his first career top 10 after this, but really didn't understand the whole spinning him dynamic there. But both guys were able to continue with no damage. And then arguably the biggest thing in the race happens after that caution. Kyle Larson comes in from the lead and loses his tire, loose wheel. They've since today suspended the crew members for 2 races that were responsible for that, and that lost Larson the race. To be honest with you, he had dominated up until that point. It's wild, these pit crews, man. Some of them, it's like a week to week thing. Some are great some weeks, and others are bad and cost you the race. And so I feel bad for those guys that have so much pressure on them. But that's what they sign up for. That's what they're in this for. I hated it for Larson because he really had the dominant car when it was up front. He did everything that he needed to do, got the pole, maintained track position, and that really changed things up for him and that team. After that, Josh Berry spins and then has no damage, and then spins again and ends his day. He was just fighting extremely loose conditions all day. It seemed like the 4 car. And they had a string, which it was short tracks, but they have ran respectable. I think for his first year. at the helm in that 4 car. And, hated to see his day in. I'm a Barry fan. I like the way he came up. I know he's real good friends with Dale Jr., but the short track guy that's worked his tail off his whole life to get in a NASCAR ride, and he's at a high level one now. I'm a huge fan of Josh Berry, and I hope he continues to do good things. Then Michael McDowell battling for the lead. We saw this later in the race too, and I'll get to that. But in the same spot, 3 and 4, bounces up the hill there, hits the bumps, and spins it, and ends his day. Hard hit to the outside wall, damaged his car completely. He was done. But good to see McDowell up there running. I mean, it had to do with strategy. He wasn't just there on speed, but he was battling for the lead when that happened. But like I said, just good to see him back up there. And that's another guy that could be a factor at Talladega. Fords are known to be super quick there, especially in qualifying. Um, a Ford has yet to do anything this year that I'm aware of that I can remember right off. Um, so could could this week be McDowell's week after a rough week last week? We'll see. Chastain wins stage 2. I knew he would be fast this week. He's really good at Texas. He was solid all day long up until the very end. So he gets his stage win. And then on the restart after the second stage, Bubba Wallace and Chase Briscoe. I've went back and watched this several times, and my first thought was Bubba wasn't clear, but then I think he was. I'm kind of confused. I think he just lost the car. I think it kind of drifted up on him, and he didn't really have anywhere to go. He was clear. Chase did cut him a break and letting him get clear, but I would just chalk this up as racing. I mean, I think Bubba lost the car on exit, and then which both of them came back to finish pretty good. I mean, neither one of them had much damage at all. Briscoe maybe a little to the back end, but he was fine. I think he actually finished higher than Bubba, but I wouldn't place blame on either guy here. At first, I thought it was on Bubba seeing it just first, but then going back and looking, he was clear. I think it was just racing the misfortune of events for both guys. But like I said, both of them went on to finish pretty well at Texas. And I noted after that all the different strategies taking place. People staying out longer, people taking 2 tires, people taking 4 tires, staying out in general. I thought that was an interesting part to the race. Tires mattered there, but it wasn't overwhelming. So it was interesting to see who decided to do what. Now, Ryan Blaney and Ryan Preece. Another interesting. It looks similar to the Hocevar Kyle Busch incident. Blaney, I saw in an interview, said that the corner before he used Preece up, so he knew something was coming. I don't think he quite expected it to be a bump, like a huge bump, sending him straight into the fence. But um, it was Ryan versus Ryan, so I think they're on fine terms now. But it was a heck of a hit. I mean, he not even a bump and run. I mean, that looked like had to be a hard hit to the back bumper of Blaney, and pretty much ended his day there. I think both of those guys, Priest and Blaney, will be up towards the front at Talladega once again. 2 Fords that can really get it going. And Blaney, I mean, he's a super speedway guy, man. I think he's arguably the best super speedway racer in the field, especially with this next gen car. He just does great things on super speedways. Won at Talladega last year while I was there, and then this first race of the year at Talladega, I think he finished second. I was also there, but he's consistent at plate tracks in general. And then towards the end of the race, it looked like it was going to be Tyler Reddick in a landslide winning this thing. He comes into the pits on green flag stops like 6 seconds ahead of Denny, who was running second. His pit crew fails him again, which is another issue. For 2311, their pit crews, man, they've been very, very inconsistent this year. They've got to improve on that if they're going to do anything in the playoffs. But the point of what I'm saying is Reddick comes in 6 seconds ahead, leaves, and Denny jumps him somehow. And jumps him by a pretty substantial margin, 1.5 to 2 seconds. And within 10 laps, Reddick's back around him. That's how good Reddick's car was. And I hated to see him have such a good car and not be able to capitalize on it. I really was rooting for Reddick this race. And I mean, I obviously wanted Denny to win, but Reddick was so fast. He had done all the right things. He kept his car in one piece, and just yet another day of disappointment for the 45 team. Um, Martin Truex Jr., who for the first time this season in my fantasy group, and I know some of you all listen that are in that group. It's been a rough start. I'm not going to lie. And part of it is because my first pick was in Daytona 500 was McDowell, and he made like 2 laps and then had engine issues, and that really just got me off to the wrong start. But this week, I felt like I had some redemption going. I felt like I could improve my point standing on a couple spots, and especially when I pick eighth and I land Martin Truex Jr., who I was very excited about. I'm like, I got a Gibbs guy on a mile-and-a-half track. Granted, he's probably been the slowest out of the four all year, but let's ride. I'm riding with Martin Truex Jr. He runs top three, top five all race long, and then with how many laps left during that last pit cycle, his pit crew absolutely screws him. I mean, just screws him. Issues on the left side and put him in the back. I think he came back to finish 14th, but he had such a better car than that. He ran, like I said, top three, top five all day. I thought I was going to have a good point today. And once again, it is a known fact that if I pick you in that fantasy league, something is going to go wrong at some point in the race that I pick you, and that's just how it has been this year. So hated it for Martin. He was due for a good run. Um, probably will stay away from him this week on super speedways. He's never won on one, so we'll see. Would it be something if I stay away and he won this week finally at a super speedway? But I got my eye on him for Dover in a couple weeks. John Hunter Nemechek had just a terrible day. He's actually ran pretty decent. Up until Martinsville last week, he wrecked with like 2 to go, lost his brakes, and then he wrecked a couple times this race at Texas. Just very rough time for the 42. Uh, he actually spun in the same spot, 3 and 4. Got up in the marbles and spun, and he was done for the day. Ricky Stenhouse, and um, I felt like Denny was in a good spot because after the um, 42 spun, Denny had a heck of a restart on Reddick. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Reddick slid the tires or if Denny just outmuscled him. You know, Denny was in a good position to steal a win here. And Ricky Stenhouse, man, just gets loose and spins by himself. So hated to see that. Then after that, we re-rack him. Kyle Larson on top of 4 wide, way in the back spins. And just another nail in his coffin for the day. It was just a rough day for several guys. But Denny still had the lead. Chase Elliott was on the outside on the restart after the Larson spin. And Chase Elliott muscled it from Denny. Chase had a great restart. Denny had a not so good one. And, they battled clean all day long, I felt like. That was very cool to see. As, if you don't know the story, my son's a huge Chase Elliott fan. I'm a huge Denny fan. And they've had their history. So it was good to see them race clean. They raced clean at Martinsville last week while we were in attendance. And Chase did a good job on that last restart. He did exactly what he needed to do, got clear of Denny. And, in 3 and 4, the treacherous spot. And Denny said in his post race, he knew, based on how much speed he was carrying there, that he probably wasn't going to make the corner. So the same exact thing happened to him as happened to everybody else that had wrecked earlier. Hit the bumps, got loose, and terribly damaged his car. The back end was bent in. The crowd rejoices. They rejoiced. I saw videos of people cheering. I was bummed, to say the least. Thought he was going to get him another win, but he was going for it, going for a win. It ain't like anybody wrecked him or did anything to wreck him. He got loose by himself, so I'm perfectly content with that. Definitely would like more than a 30th place finish for Denny, but he didn't get it done. But he'll be a factor at Talladega. He's always good at super speedways, so he'll be back in it. Y'all can argue amongst yourselves or with me or whatever, but I see I see this year to be William Byron, Kyle Larson's, or Denny Hamlin's. I mean, they are. You look out every week, and you know those guys are going to be there. You know, they're very very consistent. I think Chase can join that group. He's been up front 2 weeks in a row now, multiple times. So we'll see. Um, After the Denny spin, Harrison Burton, who led some laps at the, um, at one point in the race, I want to give a shout out to him for leading some laps. He definitely needed that after the year he's had. 21 and 15 spin Kaz Grala, and that was our last caution. And Chase Elliott, once again, another solid restart and goes to the point and gets his first win in 42 races at Texas. And popular win. Popular win. I called my son. I was on my way back from Lexington, called him, make sure he was watching, texted him and told him congrats. And as a Denny Hamlin fan, that's a hard thing to do, but you think of I think about my child and the enjoyment he's having. I knew he enjoyed that, and I knew he enjoyed Denny wrecking. So uh, he was very happy Chase finally got back into victory lane, as was my mother. I got a text from her. She's a Chase Elliott fan too. So happy for both of them. They deserve it. It's been a long time since he got into victory lane, and I predicted at the beginning of the season. If you listen to my predictions in preseason, I said he would win. I think I said 2 or 3 races. I expected a huge bounce back year for him, and I still think that's going to happen as he gets his first one at Texas. And he had to earn it. He did had to earn it. He raced Denny clean. He raced everyone clean. I mean, there wasn't any issues there. The last lap, that thing that I did want to talk about though was the Ross Chastain William Byron. I know a huge deal's been made about that. I don't really know why. Um, I don't think anybody was at fault there. I know Ross declined comment. I think he was mad at the time. I hope he goes back and sees the replay. I don't think there's anywhere that Willie B could have went. It looked like Ross. I don't know if he missed the corner, if he got loose on exit, or if William just caught him faster than he thought he was going to. But it looked like Ross blocked down into William. I know Ross probably doesn't see it that way, but I watched the in car of both cars, and that's what it looked like. William didn't have anywhere to go. So I'm not faulting either guy there for that mishap. I mean, it sucked for Ross, who was running second at the time and ends up finishing 32nd. Um, Rough for him for sure. But I don't place blame on any guy there. You all give me your opinions and let me know what you think. Some notable finishers, as we do every week. First off, Chase Elliott winning. That's huge. He desperately needed that for his confidence, for his morale, and the teams. He got that. And I want to shout out Brad Keselowski for running second. He had a terrible time at the beginning. Said his car was not driving the way he wanted it to. Had a very rough time, and took a 25th place car and made it run second. And a lot of that had to do with strategy too. He put tires on later than everybody else. Had the freshest tires. Ends up finishing second, so a huge run for that team. Daniel Suarez, top five. First thing they've had decent runs, but this is the first time I remember him being in the top five since his win at Atlanta. Chase Briscoe, after the spin with Bubba Wallace, finished sixth. Shout out to the eighth and ninth place finishers, Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch. They were both desperately in need of a great run, and both of them got it. Hocevar, like I said, I touched on it. First career top 10. He just keeps getting better, to be honest with you. Ryan Priest, 12th. Good, solid run for him. Ty Dillon, 16th. Christopher Bell, normally 17th, isn't a good finish, but with all the damage he had, and I'll take that. Graxon, 18th. Thought he did a great job. Now for guys that underwhelmed, um, I would say Larson 21st. Man, that really stinks for that team. Definitely had the best car at the beginning of the race, and it kind of all went away after the loose wheel. I don't know if that caused damage or if it was just being back in dirty air in traffic really costed him. I'm not sure about that, but Austin Cindric 25th. Not a very good run for him. He started 8th. I thought he was going to run decent. Of course, Denny in 30th after battling for a win. That stunk. Um, so, and Ross 32nd, Blaney 33rd, and Barry 36th, Bowman 37th. All those rough days for those guys. But now, after Texas, like I said, as far as Texas goes, I thought it was the best Texas race in a very long time, maybe ever that I've seen. I can remember, except for when it was old Texas. As far as new Texas, the new layout, the new pavement, I think this was the best one so far for sure. Now as we go to Talladega, first I'm going to pick my Xfinity winner. You all know that picking super speedways is dang near impossible to predict the correct winner. Um, but with that being said, I have my eye set on a guy that, frankly, I think is just due. And you're thinking, how can you pick against Austin Hill? That's a valid question. That's a valid question. But if I pick favorites every week, you all wouldn't even listen to this segment. I think Austin Hill will be the overwhelming favorite, and he is liable to win again. But I'm not picking him. This dude is due for a big time win. It'll be his first career win. I'm on the Sheldon Creed train. I have been forever now. He seems to run good at super speedways. He seems to always be up there and finish second every time when he's up there. Give me Sheldon Creed in the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. You could say that's a bold pick. They haven't ran that well this year. I would agree. But like I said, I have faith in him. I have faith in Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole in Xfinity this week. And I think Sheldon Creed finally gets it done. Now, Cup. This one gets hard. Very hard. I think Ryan Blaney has to be the favorite. Um, I, I just do. I think the Fords in general have to all be favorites. They're very, very good. They're very solid on these kind of tracks. That being said, Toyotas and Chevys have been strong all year everywhere else. Hendrick won Daytona. Suarez won Atlanta. So Fords aren't the end all be all. And I look at, uh, you know, I look at the Chevys and Toyotas, and I think this is going to shock some people. My mind tells me to go Ford, but my heart tells me to pick someone that I've said will get a win this year, and I think that it comes. I think this is the time that they get it. This guy, I touched on a little bit earlier. He's been fast this year. He's always fast at super speedways qualifying, but he can never get up there at the end of a super speedway race. And I think it'll take some chaos to happen, but I think some chaos will happen. I will pick Alex Bowman to win at Talladega. I think this would be his first super speedway win, if I'm correct. I think he's won the duels before, and he always qualifies well. But I like Alex Bowman to get a win for Hendrick Motorsports again in a super speedway, and we will see if that happens. Talladega is Talladega. One of my favorite tracks on the schedule. The race is Sunday at 3 p.m. I think once again it's due to be a wonderful time, wonderful race. If you're a super speedway guy or fan like I am, you can't say anything bad about Talladega. So I can't wait to recap that one. The race should have, barring anything catastrophic, let's hope that doesn't happen. The race should have my full attention this week. And how could you not for Talladega? I mean, come on. So we'll see. We'll be back to recap it. You all let me know what you think about the Texas race. I'm going to give it an 8, just because it was very surprising that Texas was that good of a race. I've got some Chase Elliott fans that listen. I'm sure they'll rate it really high. But I think an 8 is perfectly acceptable. And that'll be it for this week. I appreciate everybody listening. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. Well, we are available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you all so much. And for everybody that sent me text asking, here's the episode. And thank you all so much for caring and listening. I appreciate every single one of you.